Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandarika Giridhari Radha Lalit Madhav Ji ki Jai, Radharaman Bihari, Radhavinoda Bihari, Radhanan Bihari Ji ki Jai, Govinda Gopinath Madana Mohan Ji ki Jai, Radha Damodar, Radha Shyama Sundar, Radha Gokulananda Radha Ji ki Jai, Krishna Balaram Maharaj ki Jai, Nitya Prishtam Vishnupad Astutra Satya Shrimad Bhaktivinoda Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Om Vishnupad Privraj Kacharya Astutra Satya Shrimad Bhaktivinoda Madhusudan Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga ki Jai, Shri Guru Purnima Mahamahotsav Adivas Divas Tithi ki Jai, Shri Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Samagta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Anandalilamaya Vigrahaya Mabadivicha Visundaraya Tasmaya Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Nityananda Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmashanashaya Jannavapataye Namaha Ajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaya Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dujavaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priya Karo Karunavataru Kanakachala Dagatro Nilashonab Janetro Mrigamadavaravalo Malati Kundamala Taralataru Navesho Nilapitambaresho Smarani Britani Kunje Radhika Krishna Chandram Tavaivasmi Najivamitvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanantike Saundari Kamakoti Sakalajana Samahladane Chandrakotir Vatsaliyama Kotis Tridashavitapinam Kotiraudarya Sare Gambhiryam Bodha Kotir Madhuri Madhusada Vika Kotir Gauradeva Sajiyat Pranaya Rasapade Darshitascharya Kotir Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. First of all, my unlimited Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of Srila Gurudeva Nityal Prishtam Vishnupad Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, my Shiksha Gurudeva Swam Vishnupada Stutra Satya Srimad Bhaktivedanta Madhusudan Goswami Maharaj Srimati Krishna Priya Thakurani. On the eve of Guru Purnima, the glorification of Guru Tattva, all Gurus, Vyasa Purnima, also all Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga and dear devotees, Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis in London, also those who are watching us online, Hare Krishna, and recording. Jai Ho. Radhe Radhe. So, just before Guru Purnima Day, we were remembering the teachings of Srila Gurudeva, what Srila Gurudeva was teaching, and that is collected in Jaiva Dharma, and also that is collected, okay? Yeah. That is collected in Vaisnava-siddhanta-mala by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The garland Mala means garland, of conception of Vaishnavas, of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, of Mahaprabhu himself. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took two principles from each sampradaya, each spiritual school, and from Madhavacharya especially, he took especially much. That is the principle of Dvaita-siddhanta, Shuddha Dvaita, or pure dualism, as we were discussing yesterday. On the one hand, on the other hand, that is the principle of worship of Krishna, because the deity of Madhvacharya and Nritya Gopal, dancing Gopal, is the deity of Krishna, not Lakshmi Narayan as in Ramanuja Sampradaya. So because of the Dvaita Siddhanta of Sri Madhvacharya, as you remember, Madhvacharya shows two fingers, always. Shuddha Dvaita means pure dualism. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took that conception, but he didn't took it completely, because that is Shuddha Dvaita. We'll be discussing it in one of the chapters today in Vaisnava-siddhanta-mala. Like that was a bit biased towards Dvaita, and Shankara's Siddhanta is biased towards Advaita. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took and churned everything and reconciled the seeming contradictions by introducing Achintya, Bheda, Abheda, Tattva, Siddhanta, the philosophy of simultaneous difference and non-difference. Simultaneously is different and non-different. Okay, just running a bit forwards. Before we reach that point, I want to say that from the point of view of the Jivas, from the point of view of living entities, their dualism, the difference from the Supreme Lord is prevalent. And from the point of view of the Supreme Lord, the non-difference, his non-difference from the Jivas is more prevalent. So from his point of view and from our point of view, seeming contradiction. So we see one thing, he sees another thing. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu put those points together, churned them, and showed that they're actually not contradictive at all. So that amazing Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva is the core of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Siddhanta. So as we quoted yesterday, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took those 9 points of Sri Madhavacharya's Siddhanta, being described in Sri Prameya Ratnavali by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu. Shri Madhava Praha Vishnum Paratamam Akilam Nayavedyam Che Vishvam Satyam Bhedam Shijivan Haricharana Dushas Taratamyam Shtityam Moksham Vishwam Brilabhyam Tadamala Bhajanam Tasya Hetum Pramanam Pratyaktyakshadi Trayam Cheripati Shatik Hari Krishna Chaitanya Chandra. So yesterday we discussed, I think, only 2 first points out of 9. And today we'll hopefully discuss 3 or 4. And we'll finish one of the days in Groombridge. So the first point is Vishnu Paratamam. Vishnu is the Supreme Personality. As you remember, before Ramanuja, India was so much under the influence of Advaita Vedanta Siddhanta of Shankaracharya. So everything is one, everything is non-different. Certainly the feat, the great accomplishment of Shankaracharya cannot be denied, because he returned the authority of the Vedas in India. All Brahmins had become Buddhists, but Sri Shankaracharya returned the authority of the Vedas to India. And what the Buddhists were calling Shunya, or emptiness, Sri Shankaracharya was calling Brahman, and that is already Vedic, completely Vedic category. So, but Ramanujacharya, you remember, he introduced Vaishishtya Advaitavada, means specified monism or purified monism, which already introduced the supreme position of the Supreme Lord. Also, he divided his creation into Chit and Achit, or which is conscious and non-conscious, means spiritual matter and material energy, material objects, jada. But Madhavacharya moved even forward towards absolute prevalence of Dvaita Siddhanta. That's why two fingers we see. And he introduced the Panchabheda, the five differences. You remember, Purushottam, you remember which one? I know Yaduvar Prabhu remembers, but do you remember? Ishvara Jiva Beda. Let's repeat together. 3, 4. Ishvara Jiva Beda. Cannot hear at all. Ishvara Jiva Beda means difference between the Supreme Lord and individual living entity. Ishvara Jiva Beda. The second one, between two Jivas. You look very similar, but you're not one. You are different. So Jiva Jiva Beda. 3, 4. Jiva Jiva Beda. Yes. So that is Lavanya Purushottam Beda. Two different Jivas. And then Jiva Jada Beda. Jiva 3, 4. Jiva Jada Beda. What is Jada? Yeah. So I can do this, and I cannot become one with this, right? So the specification of this division will be discussed today also very interestingly in one of the chapters. Then Jada Jada Beda, 3, 4. Jada Jada Beda. This difference between this and this. This is metal and this is wood. And together some rasa is coming, some taste, sound. So, but they cannot be completely together. And finally, Ishvara Jada Beda. Ishvara Jada Beda. So the Lord created all material objects, and He's always aloof. They're existing by themselves. They're totally the products of His Maya Shakti. So that is basically the Siddhanta of Sri Madhavacharya, the absolute difference in 5 features of these 5 features. So, and we discussed also the second point, the second chapter, that He is the object to be known by the study of the entire Vedas. So we'll repeat these 9 points again. So Vishnu Paratamam, the Supreme Lord is Vishnu. Akilamnaya Vedyam Cha. So He is the source, He is the goal of study of all the Vedas. People study Vedas to know the Lord. That's the goal, okay? And number 3, Vishvam Satyam. This material world is real. Because Shankarites are saying it's false. Jagan Mitya. Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mitya. That's the aphorism. Brahma is truth, and this material world is false. That is not true. This is not true. Actually, it's temporary. Has temporary nature. We'll see a bit further. Srimadvapraha Vishnam Paratamam Akilam Naivedyam Cha Vishmam Satyam. Vishwam Satyam. Very important principle. Now, number 4, about the Jivas. So, the Jivas are different from the Supreme Lord. Bhedam Cha Jivan. One of the types, they are devoted to the Lord. Hari Charana Jusham. They're always finding the shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. And Taratamyam Chetesham. The other kind are protesting. They're not accepting the principle of the service. Today we will see so nicely, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura is explaining how service is natural for us. So much natural. We just really cannot be happy without service. It's not possible. And it's really within us. It's within us. We'll see further on. So these are 4 points. Okay. Jivas, 5 and 6. 6 points. So some Jivas are liberated, some Jivas are conditioned. Number 7. Moksham Vishwangri Labham. The actual essence of liberation is finding yourself at the lotus feet of Vishnu. So we remembered yesterday the Lila of Sri Sritanimapra and Gadadhara Pandit. Once Mahaprabhu, when he was the impudent logician, knower of Nyaya, logic, he faced Gadadhara in the street and said, "Hey Gadadhar, you tell me, what is moksha? What is liberation?" Oh, Gadadhar, okay, he understood he was in a fix because nobody could escape Nimai Pandit. Nobody could, get out without being defeated. So, well, he said standard formula of liberation. Atyantika dukhi nivriti iti mukti. It's a complete liberation from all suffering is mukti. But this is general. But Mahaprabhu said no. He said no. And he quoted this conception of Madhvacharya, actually. This very point, he quoted. Moksham Vishvangri Labham means liberation, means attaining the lotus feet of Vishnu. That is real liberation. So he was hidden as a devotee then, but he sometimes was speaking completely in devotional to say mood. That's his answer to whom? To Srivas. Srivas was asking him, "Oh, you're supposed to be worshipping Vishnu, etc., worship Krishna." Well, we have Shalagram Shila in our house, but I know sometime I will become devotee by a blessing like this. So this is 7. Yes, Moksham Vishwam Grilabhyam. Liberation means attainment of Bhagavan. And now these 7 points were Sambandha. Now the last 2 points are Abhidaya and Prayojana respectively. So Abhidaya. Amala bhajanam tasya hetum pramanam. Tadamala bhajanam. So the bhajan, or pure devotional service, is the method for liberation. And in order to achieve liberation and in order to attain perfection, which is prema, 3 main methods are there. These are direct perception, pratyaksha, logical inference, anumana, and Vedic authority, shabda. The 3 pramanas. So 8 or 10 pramanas, depending on the school. According to Javadara, 8, some other schools 10. There also Srila Gurudeva is commenting Madhurya Kadambini in the very beginning, and he's explaining all those. But the main ones are Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. So remember, Purushottam, which one is most important? Pratyaksha means direct experience. Anumana, yes, thank you. Can you bring it a bit closer? Anumana means logical inference. Remember, smoke means fire, but it may be non-perfect. So main one is what? Shabda. What is Shabda? Can we make it fixed? Shabda means... Shabda means sound. Shabda means actually word. So Shabda means the word of the Vedas, which means basically what? Mahajana Vakya. What has flown, yes, from the lotus mouth of Mahajans, the great souls. So that is called Shabda, Shabda Brahman. And that can be recorded in the form of a book, Bhagavatam. So Pratyaksha in the line of Shabda, practical experience in the line of the Shastras, is real truth. And there's Anuman also, it has its place. Some symptoms are there. So according to those symptoms, we can see that that person is realized, say he's experiencing some 8 types of bhavas, etc., ashtasattvika or something else. So all he's experiencing means he's very high personality. Even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he saw Mahaprabhu first time, he was able to ascertain that Mahaprabhu was on a very, very high level, not typical for a common mortal person. So he could understand that Mahaprabhu was on a very great level, although he was an impersonalist. So anyway, that was Anumana. So Pratyaksha in the line of Shabda. Shabda is the leading point. You cannot experience something that was not mentioned in the Shastra. Everything is mentioned in the Shastra. So, okay, let's repeat these 9 points because that's very, very, how to say, sensitive thing. Let's try to remember the 9 points of Madhavacharya, because from these 9 points, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has taken the, how to say, Mahaprabhu actually took everything, but then Jiva Goswami and the six Goswamis, but then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur included that in Dashamula Tattva, so they coincide. So let's just repeat, listen again. So, Vishnum Paratamam, the Supreme Lord is Vishnu. Akhilam Naivedyam Cha, the goal of all the Vedas is to know Vishnu, to realize Vishnu. Vishvam Satyam, the material world is true. Bedam Shajivan, the Jivas are different from Lord Vishnu, completely different. Some of them are conditioned and some of them are liberated. 6 points. 7th point, remember Mahaprabhu's answer to Gadadhar, Moksham Vishwangri Labham. The devotion to Vishnu is the meaning of liberation. And number 9, Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. The 3 pramanas, the 3 proofs, ascertaining the highest attainment of prema, or pure devotion. So these 3. Okay, so these 9 points are the, how to say, predecessors or preliminary form, we can say, of the 10 roots by Srila Bhaktivinoda, synthesized by Srila Bhaktivinoda. Okay, understand everything? It's a bit technical, but you know, it's very important because everything is based on this. Yes.
What I, for example, could conclude of understanding this foundation, that it leads us to understand Swarup Shakti.
Yes, everything, not only Swarup Shakti. Yeah. Concerning Shakti, we had the whole discussion about Shakti in the one of the first chapters. But the point of Shakti is completely right, because our method is, remember what? Shakti Parinamavada. The conception of transformation of the energy. The Lord is within himself. Natasya karyam cha vidyate. Kascha drishyate. Parasya shaktir vividaiva shruyate svabhavik balagyana kriyacha. All of his shaktis are doing everything. And the principal ones are Balagyana Kriya, means Satchidananda. Otherwise, yes, Satchidananda. Chit Shakti, Maya Shakti, and Jiva Shakti. So, chapter 3, he is the object of all the Vedas. Now is being discussed in the form of questions and answers. So the question, how can one know the truth about the Lord? Bhagavat Tattva. So Bhagavat Tattva, you know. If we have knowledge, then we can see people go to universities and they cultivate jnana. What kind of jnana we will hear now? Jnana, most of the time, for common people, seems to be quite boring thing. But this Bhagavad Jnana, this knowledge of Bhagavan, is fully blissful. Let us see how it is. How can one know the truth about the Lord? Bhagavat Tattva. Answer. He can be known, means Bhagavan can be known, by the soul's own self-manifest innate knowledge. Swatha Siddha Jnana. Very, very deep point. Let's just give our hearts to this and try to comprehend very, very deep. Basically, we will understand by this point that we don't have to become highly intellectual people. We don't have to study everything with our brains. Because, as even Jesus said, the Lord's kingdom is within you. It's all within us. It's already present. So the whole thing is all about revelation. It has to be revealed to us by Sri Guru's grace. As within the seed, everything is there, so by the grace of the gardener, the seed will reveal itself and it will become a sprout, and then little tree, and then big, big tree with leaves, flowers and fruits. The next question, what is self-manifest knowledge? Swatha-siddha-jnana. So this Swatha-siddha-jnana. Actually, this is just one of the two. And the second one is the one we were mentioning in the beginning, for which people are going to universities and they study different types of knowledge which is limited only by the material phenomena surrounding us. One can become a professor, academician, or whatever, and that will be, as Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada was saying, zero, complete zero, actually. So there are two types of knowledge. First one is the one mentioned just now, Swatha-siddhagana, self-manifest. And the second one is Indriya Paratantrajana, means the knowledge which is derived by the senses. So even if you're not a student, you're just a little child, you can see, you can touch, you can feel, you can hear, you can smell. So you can make some conclusions about this world for yourself. That, oh, this insect bites, this is very sweet, ice cream. The sun, can burn you if you sit there too long, etc. So the child already knows those things. And some children who are intellectual, they can go to school, special schools. So your servant was in a special English school back in Soviet times. Anyway, and then university also, your servant has experienced, probably some of you also. So we go to those, people go to those institutions to do some Indriya Paratantrajana, means knowledge which depends on the senses. And this transcendental knowledge, or Swatha Siddha, does not depend on the senses. Does not depend on the senses. Even if a person's senses are very blunt, if one is an old man, by taking prasad, a very young man, a child, or even a dog, by taking prasad, so much spiritual advancement can, or if one says Krishna one time, it's great advancement, great advancement. All academic, levels are, as we say in Russian, taking rest. They're all taking rest, comparing to the one drop of prasadam or charanamrita, even for a dog. So this prasad, this mercy of Bhagavat, or just a drop of prasad, drop of mercy in the form of food or whatever, is already making Swatha Siddha Jnana in the heart of a living entity active in such a miraculous way and very, very quickly. So that's the difference between these two types of knowledge. Yeah. As I remember from one ISKCON song, transcendental knowledge is not the one you learn in college. That's true, yeah. They were singing, right. Okay, so self-manifest knowledge is that which is inherently a feature of the pure soul's original spiritual form or swarupa. Here we go. Here we go. That's why people like chanting, in the street, intuitively, even if their tradition's saying different thing. Like today, okay, we went, right, for 1 hour, singing in Camden, the cult place of all kinds of miracles, including certainly Hare Krishna, which is the greatest miracle in the world. So people were trying to avoid us, but some of them were reacting. And one lady, of probably Muslim tradition, Purushottam will tell you more, she was meditating, she had been meditating, and she took like 3 books, and she was interested. First, she was taking photos of us, so I pointed, Purushottam, come on, do your job, go to her. So then she talked to them, there were 3 ladies, and she was asking, I was meditation, it's also meditation, but it has to do with religion. No, not religion, it's names of God. It means religion. No, names of God means religion. So like in her, conception, religion is divided, there's a division between religion and, say, yoga or meditation. So there's no common thing. Religion means fanaticism, means stupid, like materialism, spiritual materialism, all those, scandalous things, and etc. So she might be thinking, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in pure spirit. But actually, this bhakti yoga is pure religion, means pure spirit, and people are afraid of this word religion, actually. And also, very honestly, I don't like religions, to be honest with you. So I'm like, I remember one cartoon in one website. There are 2 gates. Over one of them, God is written, and over The other one, church, is written. So to church, crowds of people are going, crowds of people, and to God, 1, 2, 3. No much crowd, no much crowd. Mostly people go to religion because God, according to religion, may bring so much, profit. So they go for some material gain, whatever. But that person, that's why I respect atheists, like not sincere atheists, those people who don't like religion, but they're looking for pure spirit. I really respect. So I could understand that lady is, from yoga, she may come to Bhakti Yoga soon. That was really, really nice. So to an atheist, one time in Australia, we met an atheist, like, we went to the market, local market, in that Lowood thing. You were there, right? You didn't go. You can't remember if you went to Lowood, to Australia?
No. Lowood.
Lowood.
No, I was not.
Okay, so it's good you remember that you were not in Australia. Okay, so so just went to one market which was near there, to make some collection because we were in trouble. So we made some good collection that morning. But we said hello to all our neighbors in that markets, because we're also there in the market. We're having a table. So one of the guys who approached one of the neighbors said, "I'm an atheist." I was so happy. I said, "I respect you. I really understand you." And he said, like, "I'm an atheist because this and this and this." He said, "Because those religions are blah, blah, blah." I said, "Okay, I respect. I understand. Very good." So I also used to I didn't used to like religion. Like my family was not, because there was Soviet Union and everybody was out of any religion. But then my parents went to Orthodox Christianity. I went to Hare Krishna, like same year, 1988, same, like we divided. And then we're observing each other from those point of view of those conceptions, and okay, some points in common, the more points we were finding in each other. So anyway, what I wanted to say, so this is the division of the two types of knowledge. Okay, self-manifest, that is within your soul, and this is really how George Harrison sang, "Within you, without you." That's, you remember the song? Within you, the love flows on within you and without you. So it's within you. But alas, unfortunately, for the moment, without you. So it has to be with you. That's the whole point. The transformation must be done. And the Indriya Paratantrajana, well, it can be practiced for, you should know how to turn on the fridge, how to turn off the light, it's important to know. But no more than that. No more than that. Like, you don't need to, dive too deep into that, because it will not give you happiness, and also the Lord will not be pleased by that, actually, so that's, how to say, the source of what is called mental speculation. So spiritual reality, or Swarupa, it is eternal, just like all spiritual reality. So that knowledge is within you, because you are eternal, and you as a spirit soul are part of spiritual reality, which is temporarily under the influence of Maya. So this material world is also very good, as we were discussing yesterday. It's perfect, but Maya has some function which is quite unpleasant for us, conditioned jivas, of two parts. Remember, avaranatmika, prakshapatmika, covering and dragging down. So we have to be free from it. So this inherent self-manifest knowledge is called Veda or Amnaya. So when we hear Veda, from the knower of the Veda means spiritual master, then our life is perfect. Then our seed of devotion becomes growing, like the sprout becomes growing, then becoming a tree and flourishing, giving fruits. This pure knowledge of Swatha Siddhagana has appeared along with the conditioned soul in the material world in the form of the Vedas. Oh, such a deep thing. We have to really dive into it. In the form of the Vedas, namely the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvaveda. Let's listen again attentively. Please listen. This inherent self-manifest knowledge is called Veda or Amnaya. This pure knowledge or Swatha Siddhagana has appeared along with the conditioned soul in the material world. in the form of the Vedas, namely Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda. So the conditioned soul has appeared in this material world by his own mistake, as we know, his own, how to say, misuse of independence. And along with the jiva in the material world, Vedas have also appeared in the material world as the instruction for the conditioned souls to act in this material world. Like rules of the game, okay? When you enter some game, you're given rules, right? You enter some, I don't know, whatever, casino. So you're given rules of football or whatever. Where is our brother? What's his name? Your friend? Rasaraj, what doing? Probably practicing the rules. Okay, so the Vedas are manifested in this material world as long ago as the Jivas manifested here. So those two things, I mean, that fact that the Vedas are together with the conditioned souls in the material world since time immemorial constitute the fact that Vedas are actually Swatha, Siddha, Jnana. So the inherent spiritual knowledge. So what does, so very logical, how to say, conclusion is coming from this point. What does the conditioned soul have to do? What? Take up the Vedas, Shabda, and practice the spiritual sound. You hear spiritual sound and act according to what you've heard. If you use your independence, then you're again under the influence of Maya. That's it. Simple as that. So the devotees or yogis, they cooperate together in order to be in line, to practice nicely. That is the whole path, of bhakti. So, yes, so these four Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, ordinary people collect knowledge of various objects by the help of their material senses. This is called Indriya, Paratantrajana. So ordinary people are residents of this material world, and they feel happy in this material world. They try to be happy, but they normally not, but they still try. The happiness takes maybe 0.01% of their lives, but still they're trying to, like that person, Prahlad Maharaj, the story of Prahlad Maharaj, that person in a well, drops of honey on his tongue, sometimes getting on the tongue, but when they get on the tip of his tongue, he's feeling so happy. For that happiness, he's ready to perform all austerities of this material world. Get up at 4 o'clock, work hard, stand in the traffic jams 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. All those office 9 to 5, all those things. For some drops of happiness, so-called boring life, isn't it? But since people have no adhikar for anything else, then they're bound to practice only this Indriya Paratantrajana. That's it. The next question. Yeah.
I remember devotees used to come to Gurudev telling Gurudev, I'm not happy. And I remember he translating sometimes and Gurudev will answers to that. That means you're not practicing. You're practicing no matter what you do.
Yeah, you're not happy means you're not happy. Thank you, good, great. Very nice. So the next one. Next question. Can one know the truth about Bhagavan by this Indriya Paratantrajana, knowledge based on the senses or not? Well, people go to university, they study like anything. But can they know Bhagavan? The answer is no. Bhagavan, the Supreme Person, is beyond the scope of all the material senses. He's beyond. He's beyond the scope of all material senses. Because you cannot. As much you study, doesn't matter how much you study, you will never be able to know Bhagavan by those material studies. For this reason, he is known as Adhokshaja, not available for the senses, not known by the senses. The knowledge acquired from the senses, as well as material speculation and logic generated from the mind, with the help of the senses, always remains very far away from giving a true conception of Bhagavan, along with the conditioned soul in... So, people who are very much into scientific knowledge don't like what they call religion also. Oh, this is already religion, so they escape. No, I have to be empiricist. What is religion? Already, those are sentiments. They're rejected. I cannot accept. And they're not coming towards the pure path of the Swatantra. What's it? Swatha-siddhagana. Question: if Bhagavan is attained through the soul's own self-manifested knowledge, Swatha-siddhagana, then what is the necessity of studying the Vedic scriptures? So that person who is asking this, the hypothetical person, seems to be very much into studies. And he's thinking, oh, you're saying that there's no need to study. That will come automatically because it's Swatha-siddha within your heart. So what's the point of studying the Vedas then? So you're studying the Vedas, right? You're reading Jaiva Dharma, studying shlokas. What's the point? Answer: it is true that the Veda is present in every pure spirit soul in the form of Swatha-siddha-jnana. However, that self-manifest Vedic knowledge awakens in the heart in proportion to the soul's freedom from bondage. Also important. So the more we're free from the Maya and its workings, the more this self-manifest knowledge is revealed. But if you go to the other side, if you go towards Indriya, Indriya Paratantrajana, means the knowledge which is in the line of, let's say, mental speculation, the sensual experience, the more you're away from the revelation of Swatha-siddha-jnana. Freedom from, so you're not free from bondage, you're going more into the bondage. It is manifest completely in some and present in a covered form within others. In order to make the Swatha-siddha-jnana available to everyone, the Vedas have appeared in this world. So Shabda principle. If you hear Srimad Bhagavatam with the mouth of the pure devotee, then the true conception of all Vedic knowledge is revealed to you. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru tasita hirtha prakashante mahatmana. Yeah. So when you have the same faith as into Bhagavan, when you have faith into your guru in the same way as you have the faith in Bhagavan, then all the imports of Vedic scriptures are automatically revealed into your heart. That's how it happens. Yes. The question: we have heard that Bhagavan is perceivable only through bhakti, devotional service. If this is true, then how we can say that he is perceivable by jnana, Swatha-siddha-jnana? Again, the person is a bit like hypothetical person, is a bit too much attached into, how much his conception of jnana is very much scholastic, like, oh, it's too much mental activity, too much intellectual activity. But actually not. That jnana is swatantra, it's independent, it's within your heart. So he's saying, oh, but if it's swatantra, if it's within your heart, then why do you say that it's perceived by jnana? Some knowledge has to be cultivated. The answer? This Swatha-siddha-jnana is another name for devotion, bhakti. So don't worry, this is not that jnana of Indriya Paratantra type, after which so many jnanis are going, so many people who are empiricists, who study different phenomena of this material world. So don't think this jnana is dry in that manner. It's actually bhakti, another form of bhakti. It is not different from devotion. This jnana is very nice because it's actually devotion. So we were discussing, so many people were here yesterday. Today is the phenomena of the second day. Means today we have only the, cream. Okay, so we were discussing the story of Giri. Giri was servant of Shankaracharya. It's a well-known story. And he was also only washing Shankaracharya's clothes. He was not at all knowledgeable. He knew nothing about Vedanta. But by the mercy of his guru, he started speaking like a first-class scholar with all Sanskrit quotations, with all perfect conclusions. That was just like a symphony what he spoke. So Shankaracharya was very pleased and said, see, this is the result of his guru seva. So that is it. So if you're just a ordinary kid, ordinary boy from a village, you cannot read, cannot speak, no worry, no worries. You come to the mat, listen, and you serve. And be bhakta pot in the kitchen. You clean pots, and then you become greater than greatest speaker. Mukam karoti vachalam, pungam lanko iti girim, tumaham kripata maham vande Shri Guru Tinataranam. The lame man will become able to climb the mountains. The blind man will become able to see the stars, and the person who cannot speak will become an eloquent speaker in a moment, just in a moment. Like at the end of Brihad Bhagavatamrita yesterday, we were discussing also. Gopakumar put his palm on the head of Jana Sharma, the Brahman, and Jana Sharma became the associates of the Lord, cowherd boy, in the same way as his Gurudev. So then why is jnana so condemned in the devotional scriptures? If it's so nice, devotional scriptures condemn jnana, but it's a different type of jnana, different dry type of jnana, dry speculation. Devotional scriptures have greatly glorified Swatha Siddhagana, because there is no other means for the jiva to attain freedom from inauspiciousness. The jiva cannot attain actual benefit by Indriya Paratantrajana, that knowledge which depends on the senses, on Nirvishesha Jnana, knowledge of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Thus, both these types of knowledge have been described in the devotional scriptures. So different type of jnana is criticized, and for a good reason. Question. Throughout all the Vedic scriptures, there are descriptions of karma, fruitive activities, jnana, speculative knowledge, and bhakti, devotional service. By which of these can the tattva or truth of Bhagavan be known? It's really so. Jnana kanda, karma kanda, jnana kanda, and then bhakti. 3 types of scriptures, 3 parts of Vedas. Answer. By thoroughly examining all the statements of the Vedas, it is clearly seen that apart from Bhagavan, there is nothing else worth knowing. All karma, fruitive activities mentioned in the Vedas ultimately have Bhagavan as their goal. In its completely purified state, free from the duality of material enjoyment and impersonalism, jnana, speculative knowledge, also has Bhagavan in its ultimate goal. Bhakti, devotional service, is natural and perpetual service to Bhagavan. Therefore, Bhagavan is the object of knowledge throughout the Vedas. So you must have heard of yoga ladder in Bhagavad Gita. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. Why cannot all people practice bhakti yoga at once? Some people cannot. Or they cannot practice Shuddha bhakti yoga at once, pure bhakti yoga. Because they have different kinds of adhikar, qualification. Some of them have karma adhikar, some of them jnana adhikar, some of them dhyana, means meditation, because of their previous samskaras, their previous interests. So they cannot come to bhakti so easily. And the devotion, if they want to practice, will be inevitably tinged by those processes, karma mishra, jnana mishra, yoga mishra. And then gradually, by association, by seva, they will become able to practice. You remember the 3 stages of bhakti? Aropsiddha bhakti, Sangasiddha bhakti, Swarupsiddha bhakti. You remember? We were discussing yesterday. Purushottam, Aropsiddha bhakti, how can you explain?
It's like conversation bhakti.
Roughly, yes, but what is arop? What does arop mean?
It's connected, but it's not directly. It's directed towards, but it's not directly an activity.
Okay, but the word arop, what does it mean? A label. A label. Arop means label. So if you take your activity, for example, driving or sewing or building or whatever, and you put label Bhakti on it, now this is Bhakti. So driver became a devotee and became Bhakti driver. Okay, builder became Bhakti builder. Actor became Bhakti actor. So he is attached to his activity because according to Varnashma, that's what he or she can do. But actually, that's like a label of Bhakti on top of the activity. So by association, Sangha, with the devotees, in the process of Sangha Siddha Bhakti, that Bhakti driver will become more inclined towards Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. And Swarupa Siddha Bhakti is practiced by following the 64 limbs. The main of them, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering. Out of which the most important is, Lavanya, what? Ah! Who will say? Ah! Ay!
Chanting.
You have all A's, not a... No, all D's, not even complimentary. What is Sarvasreshta? Taramadya Sarvasreshta? Mahaprabhu said to Sanatana Goswami, what is the main limb of bhakti? Come on. Ah? Yes. Kirtanam. Taramadya Sarvasreshta Nama Sankirtan. Nama Sankirtan. Kirtanam is most important. Of 64. Right? So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, 9. Out of them, 5, Mahaprabhu said to Sanatana Goswami, Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavad Shravan, Mathur Vasa Shri Murtira Shradaya Sivan. 5. Out of them, 3, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Out of them, once again, 3, 4. Yes, good. Today my lesson is productive. Today, finally, students have learned something. My visit to London is successful. Congregation now knows. Then Kirtan is the Taras Madhya Sarvasreshta, most important path of process of bhakti. So, by practicing Sadhu Sangha Siddha Bhakti, that devotee, who was practicing Aropa Siddha Bhakti before, will become able to practice Bhakti proper, means Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. And Swarupa Siddha Bhakti technically means what? Practicing 64 limbs. But the more that practicing person, devotee, is close to his Swarupa Siddhi, means Bhava, the more his Bhakti is Swarupa Siddhi, Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. If he is established, or she, in his or her Swarupa, automatically it means Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. Then whatever that person is doing, printing books, driving bicycle, talking to some, plumber, whatever, that is not within 64. But since he's in his Swarupa, or practicing Swarupa Siddha Bhakti very nicely as a sadhaka even, that is Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. So Gurudev was saying, there was a discussion one time in 2001, I think. Gurudev was flying from Badger to Holland, and when Gurudev appeared in Holland, still that discussion was going on. 2003, I think it was. 3 years. What kind of bhakti is practiced by a person who is dedicated to Gurudev, like practicing Sharanagati, but he may not be doing always 64 types of bhakti. Say he's distributing books, he's printing, he's doing something, I don't know. Not in the 64. Gurudev said Swarup Siddha Bhakti. Definitely, because he's Sharanagata. He's dedicated himself to Gurudev. That is qualification. Okay, Madhyavacharya. Of such kind, Sharanagata Bhakta can practice very easily. Swarupa Siddha Bhakti was no problem. That will not be Arop. Because Arop, I still want some results. Karma Mishra, technically. Arop means, okay, I'm a driver, but first it's Sakama, then it's Akama, or the gardener, Bhakta gardener. First he gives 5% to the temple, then 15, then 55, then 85, then 99, and the 0.5% still for himself. Then find, okay, Tavai Vasmi, 100%. So finally, that devotee is practicing Svarupa Siddhi in that way. Even if he's the gardener and, looking after the garden all the time, after the cows, whatever, since he is fully dedicated to Gurudev, and specifically fully dedicated to chanting of the holy name, it means fully Swarup Siddha Bhakti. So yes, three types of adhikaras, and those karmis and gyanis who are practicing their processes nicely finally come to know that the goal of their processes is actually what? Bhagavan. If somebody worships some demigod, if somebody practices impersonalistic knowledge, finally, by his, sincerity, or by his prayers in whatever way that person may offer, the knowledge of Bhagavan may come, and the knowledge that the ultimate goal of his particular process is meant to for achieving Bhagavan, that will also come. So therefore, Bhagavan is the object of knowledge throughout the Vedas. Okay, this is the end of chapter 4. So chapter 3. Chapter 4 is short, and we will try chapters 4 and 5. They're both short today. So chapter 4 is very important principle. In Shankaracharya's times, according to Shankaracharya's conceptions, everybody was thinking that the universe is false. This material world is, what's that? Jagan Mithya. It's false. But Vishwam Satyam means material world is true. That is conception of Madhavacharya. Question. Some people say this universe is false. It is only instigated by the illusory material energy, Maya. What is the real truth? Answer. This universe is real, but perishable. Perishable, like a dream. We can compare. So, is dream reality or not? Yesterday was saying yes. I remember today saying no. The lesson is not learned. Answers can be variegated. This material world is true in the same way as the dream is true. The dream is true because the dream is the result of your thoughts, images, samskaras, impressions. Sometimes you can see yourself as you were in the past life, or you can see the future also, Depends. But those are things within yourself, although perishable, but they're true. The dream will end. So this material world will end, and also the knowledge of this material world will end together with the material world. So that's perishable, but true also. You can see the switch. Is it true or false? True because you can turn it on, turn it off, but perishable. So temporarily we're using everything. Users, temporary users in the temporary world. But it's real, and our roles are real. Cannot say it's false. Cannot say. That will be throwing the baby together with the water from the bath. Cannot do that. So the material universe is not eternal because it will eventually be destroyed according to the Lord's desire. This universe is factual reality. It is not false. Sometimes the scriptures say that this universe is false, but it is so to be understood that this statement merely refers to its perishability. There was some question, I think it's not printed here somehow, and answer as well at once. Anyway, the answer. Bhagavan's one supreme potency, the Parashakti, is composed of an infinite variety of potencies. So probably the question is about Shakti. Among all of these, we have knowledge about the three in particular: Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, Maya Shakti. So the main energy of the Lord is called Achintya Shakti, the inconceivable energy, or Parashakti, the supreme energy. And that is who? Srimati Radhika. According to Tattva, philosophical principles, she is Parashakti. Krishna Purna Shakti, Radha Purna Shaktiman. Radha Purna Shakti, Krishna Purna Shaktiman. full manifestation of the possessor of Shakti is Krishna, and the full manifestation as Shakti is Radha. She is called Parashakti, or she is called Achintya Shakti. Inconceivable. Achintya, para means highest. So she is divided, that Shakti is divided into three. Chit Shakti, responsible for the spiritual manifestation. Maya Shakti, the illusory potency, responsible for the illusory manifestation, material. And Jiva Shakti, in between, the potency that produces the individual spirit souls. So those who are able to see either Chit Shakti or Maya Shakti. From this Chit potency, the Lord manifests his own forms, and he reveals himself to others. From his Jiva potency, the Lord manifests a limitless number of tiny atomic particles of consciousness, the individual souls. Whatever manifests from his Maya, or illusory potency, is perishable. However, it is real during time it is manifest. The time it's manifest, Maya. It is real. During the time, Hare Krishna. During the time it's manifest. So, just before we start chapter 5, we have a new guest, and your good name is? Madhamangal. Hare Krishna, very nice to see you. So, we're discussing the book by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vaisnava-siddhanta-mala. Have you read it?
No.
Vaisnava-siddhanta-mala. So, that is the synopsis of the conception of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching very elaborately these 9 points of Sri Madavacharya, in whose line he had come, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the conception of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, the simultaneous unity and difference, is based upon these 9 conceptions of Sri Madhvacharya. So later you can see the recording of this class on my channel, but now chapter 5, dedicated to point 5 out of 9, about the differences. So Madhvacharya's conception, as you remember, the 5 types of differences, Panchabheda. Madhvacharya, when you see his picture, he holds 2 fingers like this, always. Shuddha, Dvaita, pure dualism. 5 types of dualism. Which ones? Now we'll see this discussion, but let's just remember those 5. Panchabheda, can you help?
The difference between Ishvara and the Jiva.
Difference between Ishvara and Jiva means Jiva, means Ishvara, Jiva, Bheda, yes?
Difference between Jiva and Jiva.
Yes, between those 2. 2 Jivas, different, they cannot be one.
Difference between Jiva and Matter.
Difference between Jiva and Matter, and
the difference between Ishvara and Matter.
yes,
and the difference between Matter and Matter.
Matter and Matter. Okay, good. So it's essential. You repeat in Sanskrit now. Okay. On the
Ishvara Jiva Bheda, Jiva Jiva Bhed, Ishvara Jada Bhed, Jada Jada Bhed, and
Jiva Jiva Bed, did you say?
I said
Jiva Jada Bed, Jada Jada Bed,
Yeah.
Ishvara Jada Bed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Madhamangal understands 5 types. All right. Yes, material objects. So, very, very interesting things here. Since both Bhagavan and the Jivas are described as being conscious, Chaitanya, is the difference between them imaginary? Because, Bhagavan is spiritual, the Jiva is also spiritual. So, is this difference really imaginary or not? Like a person, this hypothetical person who is asking the question, must have heard much of Mayavadic conclusions. So so maybe it's one asking like this. Answer is no. Bhagavan's consciousness is unlimited and all-pervading. Vibhu Chaitanya. means unlimited consciousness, yes, unlimited spirit. While the Jiva's consciousness is infinitesimal and is localized, anuchaitanya. So I can add one thing to this, is that the Jivas in this material world, conditioned souls, are deprived of chid bala, means spiritual strength. They're not strong because of the actions of Maya. Two actions of Maya, varanatmika, prakshipatmika, covering, dragging. So this difference between them is not imaginary, but factual. Difference between Bhagavan and the Jiva is not imaginary at all. So to think this would be would constitute the fault of incompetence in delineating the essence of Bhagavan and the Jiva. Bhagavan is Vibhu Chaitanya, big consciousness, gigantic consciousness. And also he is full of bala, full of spiritual strength. And the Jivas are deprived of chid bala, or spiritual strength, and they are anu chaitanya, means minute consciousness. They consider minute consciousness. This difference between them is not imaginary but factual. Bhagavan is the controller of his own Maya Shakti, whereas the Jivas are subordinate to his illusory potency named Maya. That is the sad reality, I was saying. Question: how many types of Bheda or difference are there? So those 5 types of differences we have just discussed, those are the differences from the conception of Madhavacharya, can be divided into 2. Vyavaharika, functional, and Tattvika, philosophical. Vyavaharika or functional? He's asking this next question. What are the Vyavaharika Bheda or functional difference? What is Vyavaharika? So this is when 2 objects are different in terms of their function, but not different in the terms of their origin. For example, this is a stick and this is a gong. So both of them are coming from the element earth, but functionally they're different. This is a wood, this is a metal. But they're both coming from the earth element. So there is only functional difference, but not philosophical difference. They're from the same category, but the details differ, understand? So this is called functional difference. Clay pot and a piece of cloth. And Tattvika Bheda is the philosophical difference. This is when the 2 objects are different in terms of both their function as well as their original cause. This type of difference is called Tattvika Bheda. That's why the difference between Bhagavan and the Jiva, is it functional or is it philosophical? Question to you.
The difference between
Philosophical, fundamentally philosophical, because they are from different categories. Bhagavan is one category. It's not. These are 2 elements of Jada. And Ishvara and Jiva, complete difference. But also Bheda Tattva. But from our point of view, from the Jiva point of view, difference is leading. From Bhagavan's point of view, non-difference is leading. But the difference, Bheda, is not Vyavaharika. It is Tattvika. It is not functional, but it is philosophical, like fundamentally. This is very important. Bhagavan is totally different from the Jiva. Different origin, different position, different function, everything. But the Jiva, although tattvically, philosophically completely different, has much in common. Has same features, but to a minute quantity. So quantitative difference, not qualitative. One in quality, different in quantity.
Could one say then there is functional similarity, but categorical, like philosophical difference?
Philosophical difference, although some functional similarity, but the jiva is very, very small. And these two things are brothers. They're from the same element, earth, from the same jada. So, tattvika difference. So the next, why is that? That is because in no condition whatsoever can the jiva become Bhagavan. That's it. That's it. But you can say, wait a minute, the stick will never become gong, and vice versa. But still, they are from the same category. And this difference, yes, we accept, but it's vyavaharika, functional, not philosophical. They're from the same category. So, question, then how are we to understand that profound statements, mahavakyas of the scriptures, like Tattvamasi, you are that? The profound statements. Tattvamasi, you are that. Okay, that question is from a hypothetical person who had heard some Mayavada. Tattvamasi, you are that. Answer: the great sage Shvetaketu was given the following instructions: Tattvamasi, you are that. You are Jiva, the eternal spirit soul, and you are not born from matter, but from consciousness, Chaitanya. It should never be understood from this lesson that the Jiva and the supreme all-pervading consciousness, Vibhu Chaitanya. To conclude this is an error. Yeah, so never Jiva can become Bhagavan again, it's evident. Question: there are the scriptural statements regarding the non-difference of the Jiva. Then are the scriptural statements regarding the non-difference of the Jiva and the Lord improper? Also not. Answer: when seen from the Jiva's point of view, the difference between the two is eternal. But from Bhagavan's point of view, the non-difference is eternal. Therefore, the difference, bheda, and non-difference, abheda, between the individual soul and the Lord are both simultaneously eternal and true. So that's what we're discussing at the very beginning. From Bhagavan's point of view, non-difference is more prominent, more important. From the Jiva's point of view, difference is more important. If the Jiva starts singing songs too much about non-difference, Jiva is risking to become a Mayavadi. I'm non-different from you. They're different. They're difficult to practice, And I'm your eternal servant, Dasa, dasa, no dasa, eternally your eternal servant. Britya, britya, paricharaka, britya, britya. Servant of the servant, of the servant, 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 7 times. So,
But in the spiritual world,
uh-huh.
it's not the same, is it? Depending on what position you have, because obviously when Ras comes in, then they're not thinking, oh, Krishna is less than me.
This is rasa. This is different.
Yeah.
Different. We're discussing tattva. Rasa is completely different. Different vichar, different consideration. So, how can we understand this mutually contradictory conclusion? Answer: by the Lord's inconceivable potency, achintya shakti, all contradictory truths can be perfectly reconciled and exist in complete harmony. However, the tiny jivas who possess very limited intelligence think that such things are impossible. Because the jivas are immersed in the material knowledge. What's that? Indriya Paratantra Brahma, Indriya Paratantra Jnana, Indriya Paratantra. Because they can see only plus and minus. This is true and this is wrong. This is 0, this is 1. That's it. They cannot reconcile the seeming contradictions.
That's why logic is dangerous.
Yes.
Because to think in that way.
Yes, logic is totally driving you towards the first type of knowledge. That's the instrument. Yes. The first type of knowledge is Indriya Paratantra, means depending on in the beginning, we were discussing today, that knowledge will just keep you under influence of Maya. That's what it will lead to. However, the tiny jivas who possess very limited intelligence think that these things are impossible. Question: then why do we hear condemnation of the philosophy of non-difference, abhedavada, non-difference? If they're different, then if they're non-different, then why non-difference is condemned? Answer: the proponents of monism only accept the non-difference of the Lord and the individual soul as eternal, and they believe the quality of difference to be temporary. Sri Madavacharya established the quality of difference as eternal. Thus, there is no fault at all in the theory of achintya bheda, simultaneous oneness and difference between Bhagavan and the Jiva soul. In fact, there is fault within both the philosophies of exclusive monism and exclusive dualism, because one is inclined towards the side of duality and does not accept the difference between the Lord and the individual soul, and the other is partial towards non-difference and does not accept the eternal truth of duality. So both of them, both extreme dualism of Madhavacharya, Shuddha, Dvaita, and both Advaita of Shankaracharya are actually not, I cannot say perfect, but they cannot show the reality in their completeness. That's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed the actual essence of non-difference, Advaita, and showed the actual position of difference, or Shuddha, Dvaita. Yeah?
Maharaj,
Oh?
this bring a thought. Correct me if I'm wrong. Therefore, for example, we talk about those who are not into bhakti. It's because of endlessness towards Krishna. So if we looking on the non-difference, then we try to take Krishna's place. Because from his angle, non-difference is permanent.
Yes.
If somebody's a devotee, then difference is permanent because there is service. There is
Yes. That's why only bhakti can bring us the right vision. So, just 10-15 minutes of your attention. Gurudev was saying, don't sleep. This is a tattvic class, in small company today. So, who subscribes to the philosophy of Kevala Abhedavada, or complete and absolute non-difference? Who are they? Impersonalists. The monists. Answer: the monists, or Nirvisheshavadis, propounders of eternal non-distinction, accept only the philosophy of non-difference, or Abhedavada. In contrast, the Savisheshavadis, proponents of eternal distinction, do not accept this philosophy of exclusive monism. Question: who accepts the philosophy of eternal distinction, Savisheshavada? Answer: this is the philosophy accepted by all devotional Vaishnava sampradayas. All sampradayas of Vaishnavas, they accept this difference, but with different connotations, different explanations. Purified monism of Sri Ramanujacharya, and Shuddha Dvaita, pure dualism of Madhavacharya, Dvaita of Nimbaditya, simultaneous dualism and monism, and yes, and Shuddha Dvaita, purified monism of Sri Vishnu Swami, and later Vallabhacharya. So all of them accept dualism as their leading method. Right? What are the differences amongst these four ideologies? Very important question. What are the differences of the four sampradayas? There are no actual differences among these doctrines. Actual big differences there are no. But again, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has synthesized them. That's why he is in the center there in Sri Chaitanya Mat, the initial temple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada in Mayapur. And the murtis of the acharyas of the four sampradayas are around Mahaprabhu and Gandharika Giridhari, Sri Madavacharya and Sri Ramanujacharya being closer, a bit closer, and Vishnu Swami and Imbaditya being a bit further away, like this. So there are no actual differences among these doctrines, for they are all Savisheshavadis. No practical differences. They are all Savisheshavadis, of the believers of eternal distinction. That's their method. None of them accept the theory of absolute monism or Kevala Abhedavada. They are all dedicated to Bhagavan, and they are all accept the Lord's potencies. Yeah, because he has nothing to do himself, he's doing everything by his potencies. But there's slight difference though. Mahaprabhu's method is again Shakti Parinamavada, the theory of the doctrine of the transformation of the energy. So these of the Dvaita school, pure dualism, have shown the eternal differences between Bhagavan and the Jiva. They say that those proponents of pure non-distinction, Kevala Dvaitavada, are totally blind. This is the opinion of Sri Madavacharya. The followers of Vishishta Dvaita, qualified monism or purified monism, say that all things are endowed with attributes and therefore can never be said to be devoid of distinction. This is the philosophy of Ramanujacharya. The proponents of Dvaita Advaita, natural occurring oneness and difference of Nimbaditya, clearly refute the impersonal philosophy of pure monism. The doctrine of Shadvaita, purified monism, on Vishnu Swami, Sri Vishnu Swami, also condemns the purely monistic conception presented by the impersonalists and describes the eternal attributes of the Supreme Truth, and has proven this philosophy with evidence from the scriptures. Upon thoroughly studying these four philosophies, one is unable to see the real difference amongst them. Question: then why did Sri Sritanimapra accept only the doctrine of Madhavacharya? Very important, we were mentioning in the very beginning the reason, but now let's hear that in full. The special characteristic of Madhava's doctrine is that all of the philosophies, it most conclusively defeats illusion in the form of the monistic Advaita philosophy. So the two fingers of Madhavacharya constitute the heaviest blow, the devastating blow on the Siddhanta of Sri Shankara. Devastating, like those two fingers are like poking his eyes. That's the end of it. You know, just sword, you know, choking completely. So,
what is that something extra that Madhavacharya is doing?
Shuddha Dvaita.
Yeah.
Shuddha Dvaita. Always two with no compromise. No compromise towards Advaita.
But the others, there is
some compromise. Shuddha Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, Dvaita Advaita. In the name of the conception of Madhavacharya, even there is no mention of Advaita. No talk about Advaita. Shuddha Dvaita. Period. Full stop. That's it. Shuddha Dvaita. Two. There's one anecdote. Two transcendentalists are meeting, and they're not even talking. They're doing gestures. One is asking, and the other one is answering. Two. 1, 2. Bas. That's the end of it. Okay, have a good day. Hare Krishna. That's it. That's it. By taking shelter of the theory of Madhavacharya, the distress caused by the impersonal philosophy is thrown very far away. Bhaktivinoda is saying. Therefore, in order to bring about unambiguous auspiciousness of the enfeebled mankind, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the doctrine of Sri Madhavacharya. So only Madhavacharya's doctrine was able to throw away all distress of the suffering humanity. Because, you know, Madhavacharya was the type of surgeon who was doing the complete operation on the diseased organ. Complete operation, with no compromise. No words like, oh, we will address this problem a bit later, now we'll put it aside, or we will not touch certain areas, we'll everything cut down. There's no question of the diseased organ. It's totally amputated. Yes, no consideration. Yet we must never think that the other three Vaishnava doctrines are any way inferior or rejectable. We should not say, like, there should be very, very careful view towards them. Whatever way one accepts Savisheshvada, the philosophy of eternal distinction, is fine, for it will certainly bring eternal auspiciousness for the soul. So if a Vaishnava is in Nimbaditya Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya, or Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, needs to be highly respected. No need to criticize, it's very dangerous. They are on the path of establishing the relationship with Bhagavan. Maybe it's that Bhagavan is a bit different. Maybe Lakshmi Narayan or, Krishna from different abodes of Golok, or Ramachandra. So we have to respect them. Shri Vaisnava-siddhanta-mala ki jai. Shri Sachidananda Thakur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Guru Purnima Mahamahotsava Adivas Divas ki jai. Paramaraditam Guru Pad Padma ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. So tomorrow we'll celebrate Guru Purnima in Groombridge. Groombridge in Sussex. Yeah, so welcome for those who want to come. Otherwise, many groups here, so you can choose. But we will be there in Groombridge. There will be also broadcast from there. So where's Nalini? Let her sing. Huh? Oh, you can sing nicely. Yes. Sing last kirtan. Maybe Hare Krishna kirtan.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Ramana, Hare Govinda, Jai Jai. Radha Ramana, Hare Radha Ramana, Hare Govinda, Jai Jai. Govinda, Jai Jai. Gopala, Jai Jai. Govinda, Govinda, Jai Jai. Gopala, Jai Jai. Radha Ramana, Hare Govinda, Jai Jai. Radha Ramana, Radha Ramana, Hare Govinda, Jai Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jai Govind, Jai Gopal, Jai Jai. Jai Govind, Jai Jai Gopal, Jai Jai. Jai Govind, Jai Jai Gopinath, Jai Jai Govind, Jai Jai Gopinath. Jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda, Jai Jai Radha Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Radha Ramana Raja, Ramana Radhe, Jaya Radha Ramana Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So,
Isn't that just going out to deliver it to
all right.
yourself?
So we will broadcast again from Groombridge for 5 more days, and then from Watford the last evening. So we'll announce those broadcasts. Go Premanande.
I have a question.
Oh,